On our 10th wedding anniversary, I changed into the outfit I'd spent days choosing, determined to surprise Chase. Vance froze, awkwardness written all over his face. Hazel, you know we've been together forever. It's hard for me to feel anything now. That night Vance recounted the scene to his assistant over the phone, voice dripping with ridicule. She still thinks she's some teenage girl? I was embarrassed for her. I asked for a divorce and Vance exhaled like a man reprieved. Fine. Tomorrow I'll ask Stella who she wants to live with. Our daughter burst in, arms locked around her father's leg. Just leave. I'll stay with Dad. You're useless, I don't want you. Weariness flooded every cell of my body. Husband, child, I wanted neither. Chase and I had almost nothing left to say. I hunted for topics that might light him up, but each attempt landed with a thud. I'm exhausted. Could you give it a rest? Vance lolled on the sofa, thumbs dancing with Sophie on his screen, grinning like a schoolboy. I'd once suspected them. Vance tossed the phone at me without a blink. Dig all you want. When that still left me restless, Vance summoned Sophie to our house. The girl, barely 20, flushed crimson and swore on everything holy she would never cross a line with Mr. Vance. Their dazzling openness only shrank me further. Petty, suspicious, small. To keep the peace, I pretended not to notice the constant buzz between them. But I refused to spend the rest of my life looking the other way. I begged Ivy for advice on jumpstarting my marriage. She messaged back a link and a wink. Slip into this and your man will be all over you. The image on my screen was so explicit my cheeks burned. Isn't that too much? Come on, you two are stuck in dry dock. Without a jolt of heat you'll sink. She was right. I could feel Chase's indifference thickening by the day. Marriages need fuel, even if the match feels mortifying. I swallowed my pride and clicked buy. The anniversary night, Chase was still at the office. After I tucked Stella in, I tiptoed to our room and, heart hammering, changed into the costume. I pestered him until Vance finally walked in just before midnight. Vance pushed the door open, surprised to find me under a quilt in midsummer. You sick? Why are you buried under there? I bit my lip, yanked the blanket off, and stood. Silence pooled. No spark, no smile. Vance looked away, uncomfortable. Pinching the bridge of his nose, Vance asked, "What are you doing?" I moved behind him and wrapped my arms around his waist. Chase, we haven't had a single night to ourselves in forever. Vance jerked free, then faced me, softened by guilt. Hazel, you know we've been together so long. I just don't feel it anymore. All my courage collapsed, shame surged like electric current. Is there any humiliation worse than a wife throwing herself at her husband and being told no? I crawled back under the covers, burrito tight. Embarrassment, disappointment, self-doubt, they knotted inside me. I hugged myself to stop the trembling and the sobs. Maybe I looked pitiful, because Vance came over to pat my shoulder. Don't overthink it. We're just too familiar. It's nobody's fault. Don't feel bad. But that hollow comfort felt like a slap branding me a failure. Get out. I jabbed a shaking finger at the door without lifting my head. Vance sighed. Okay, I'll take the guest room. Try to sleep. His steps down the hall sounded like a man fleeing a fire. I buried my face in the mattress and cried until I blacked out. Chase and I had known each other from birth. Same neighborhood, same schools, wedding gown right after graduation, then startups and diapers. Life had glided so smoothly that when the cracks showed I had no tools to patch them. All I could do was chant the lie that every marriage ends here. Ours had only arrived early. I woke in a cold, empty room sometime after 3. The door was ajar, muffled laughter leaked through. Barefoot, I padded to the guest room threshold, invisible in the dark. Seriously, my wife scared the hell out of me tonight. A gorgeous woman throws herself at you and you're terrified. Poor Mr. Vance. It's not fear, it's overexposure. Too familiar. Zero thrill. And she's pushing 30. She keeps in shape, sure, but there's this lifelessness. She's not the bright, breezy girl she was at 20. That's brutal, even for you. Maybe, but it's real. She still thinks she's a teenager. Tonight I was mortified for her. Back against the wall, I listened while Vance disassembled me. Too old, too chatty, no career, orbiting only him and Stella. Vance didn't lower his voice, sure I was asleep, or past caring, or maybe needing me to hear. For nearly an hour Vance and Sophie laughed at every flaw. The sting dulled into numb certainty. Our decade was finished. I pushed the door. Seeing me, Chase's laughter died. Finally Vance asked, "Did you hear everything?" I squeezed my eyes shut, drove the tears back, and slapped him so hard my palm stung. "So I'm your cross to bear." I kept my voice low. Stella's door was only yards away. Vance rubbed his cheek, eyes unreadable. "I'm sorry. But I won't lie, they were my real feelings. We've known each other almost 30 years, and I treasure what we have, but this life is flavorless. The thought of spending the next few decades exactly like this suffocates me. Can't you try to change? Take a page from Sophie's playbook?" I laughed until the laugh twisted into a sob. "Copy her." "Copy what? How to stroke your ego, how to fawn? I'm not your maid. Let's just divorce." "You're speaking out of anger. When you calm down we'll talk again." "No need. You know me, I can't stomach a single grain of sand. After the way you humiliated me tonight, there's no going back. I'll let you go, so let me go, okay?" Only after I convinced him I wasn't bluffing did Chase exhale with something like relief. "Fine. I'll have Jonah come tomorrow to draft the divorce papers. You invested heavily in the startup. Your equity stays intact. The East Side estate is yours. Take whichever cars you like." Vance reeled it off without pause. Vance must have rehearsed this scenario countless times already. When it came to Stella, Vance hesitated. "Forget it. I'll ask her tomorrow who she wants to live with. We should respect her choice." "No need. Stella's been raised by me since day one. Your busy work excuse kept you home maybe 10 days a year. You have no idea how to parent her. My daughter's temper worried me. If Chase remarried she'd be the easiest target. And I was sure she'd choose me after all. I was the one who'd always been there. She couldn't function without me." The next instant my confidence was slapped out of me. Stella shot from the corner, shoved me hard, wrapped her arms around her father's leg, and screamed, "Leave if you want, I'm staying with Dad. You're useless. I don't want you." Her eyes were venomous, terrified that I might drag her away from the silk and velvet life she prized. To her, I was jobless, a parasite feeding on her father's money. Yet it had been the two of us who founded the company, Chase handling strategy while I hustled for every dollar of seed funding. Even after giving birth I'd worked through my confinement, making 20 calls a day from my bed. Both of us were workaholics and the startup was relentless, so I had to leave Stella with Chase's mother and the nanny. His mom agreed to every parenting principle I set, then did exactly the opposite, spoiling Stella beyond redemption. By 4, Stella's flaws were impossible to ignore, defiant, explosive, biting, and smashing the moment anything displeased her. She couldn't keep friends, and the school summoned me weekly. Chase and I were guilt-ridden and exhausted. Around then the company stabilized, fundraising no longer required my boots on the ground, so Chase asked me to step away and focus on our daughter. I resisted until the day I saw her ostracized and bullied for her erratic behavior. Work could wait, my child couldn't. I quit, shadowed her at kindergarten, broke her bad habits, built her interests, handled every detail of her life. Her temper flared at the smallest discipline. She'd scream, "Get lost, I don't want a mom like you." I told myself it was just tantrums, that her heart was softer than her mouth. I'd ache for a second, then bury it and coax her again. Round trips, day after day, drained me hollow. I assumed both she and Chase saw my sacrifice. Turns out I was deluding myself. One genuinely wanted me gone as a mother, the other genuinely wanted me gone as a wife. I wiped the tears from the corners of my eyes, looked at my hostile daughter and indifferent husband, and smiled, free. Fine. Catering to you two was getting tiresome anyway. Sleep never came that night. From the living room Stella's voice carried clearly as she spoke to Sophie on speaker. "Sophie, Daddy's finally dumping the old witch, when are you coming to be my new mom?" I stared at the ceiling, the night stretching endless. Jonah arrived early next morning. Chase was rushing Stella to school. "Jonah, sit down with Hazel, note anything she wants added, I'll review it later." The door clicked shut. In the huge living room Jonah and I sat on opposite ends of the sofa, silence thick between us. We three, Vance, Chase, And I grew up in the same orphanage. 3 years our senior, Jonah had witnessed every step of Chase's and my journey. For an attorney, Vance's always struck me as tongue-tied. Like now, half a minute passed before Vance managed, "You okay?" I flashed an easy grin. "Couldn't be better. Spare me your pale condolences." Vance smiled back. "Good. Because when you cried as a kid, it never ended." Vance drew papers from his briefcase. "Take a look. I drafted these after midnight, maxed out your protection. Anything you want added?" I read every clause. Vance'd been thorough, fighting for me from every angle. I tapped the visitation line. "Delete this. No monthly shuttling of Stella to me. She doesn't want it, and I won't waste energy on it." Jonah pressed his lips. "Chase suggested that clause. If you hate it, out it goes. I pushed for custody last night. Chase told me everything. Don't take it too hard, Stella's 7. When she's older she'll realize what you've done. Whether she realizes is irrelevant now." I met his gaze calmly. "Jonah, I've figured it out. My first half-life was chained to Chase and Stella. The second half will be mine. I'm leaving Eastbrook, please fast-track this divorce." His expression was complicated. Vance started to speak, sighed instead. "All right. I'll handle it." The same afternoon the papers were signed, I started packing. More than a decade under this roof, too much stuff. I folded clothes in silence while Chase lingered in the doorway, sighing. "Hazel, I don't know how we ended up here. I still love you so much, yet reality defeated us." His words tasted of counterfeit and farce. I found them almost funny. The whole act Vance was putting on came from nothing more than guilt Vance refused to own, so Vance played the part of a man still desperately in love but defeated by cruel reality. Who had ever forced him? Vance grew bored, grew annoyed, blamed everything on reality, and wanted to walk away spotless, no gossip, no blame. Life doesn't work that way. I ripped the mask off without mercy. Spare me the heartsick performance, it makes me sick. If you actually feel bad, give me more shares instead of this cheap talk, at least that would be honest. Chase's expression twisted. Vance pressed his lips together, turned, and left without a word. A few minutes later my daughter stormed over. "Why did you make Dad upset? Grandma's right, women like you can't stand being miserable alone, so you ruin everything for everyone. No wonder Dad dumped you." She kicked my suitcase, then slapped the jewelry box from my hand. "Get out. I never want to see your ugly face again, you old witch." I'd run out of patience. I didn't indulge her the way I used to. I stood up and slapped her. She wailed, dropped to the floor, thrashing and kicking. "I'll tell Grandma to come beat you to death, you slut." In no time Chase's mother arrived and unloaded on me. "You and your temper, tearing this house apart every single day. What did Chase ever deny you? Food, clothes, anything? Why can't you ever be satisfied? Did your parents die too early to teach you manners?" A vase whistled past her temple and exploded against the wall, shards flying everywhere. "If you still have more to say, there's plenty left to throw." I stared at her, ice cold. The world finally went quiet. I left the rest of my things behind and wheeled the suitcase out. My daughter stood to one side, pulling hideous faces. "Battle axe, old witch. Serves you right, Naya Naya Naya." Tilda Chase's mother looked equally disgusted. "Good riddance, who wants to look at a jinx like that? That Sophie girl is so much nicer." My daughter chirped in delight. "Yeah. Sophie's gentle and pretty. Dad, when are you going to marry her and make her my new mom?" After the scene Vance just witnessed, Chase was clearly in a foul mood. Vance rubbed the bridge of his nose and roared, "Enough. Can everyone just shut up?" I pulled the door shut behind me and never looked back. Because both of us wanted it, the divorce sailed through. The morning the papers were finalized, I booked a flight south. I picked Seabright, a little beach town, bought a courtyard house, opened the gate to the ocean, mild weather, gorgeous views. Life alone was unexpectedly pleasant. Ivy and Jonah came to see me off. Ivy cursed through her tears. "That bastard Chase, start my day cursing him 800 times. I hugged her. "Relax. I walked away with most of his fortune. How is that a loss? That was yours to begin with." Jonah took my phone and made his number my emergency contact. "Call me the second anything happens." I'll get there as fast as I can. Don't wander anywhere without cell service, it's not safe for a woman alone. I smiled. I'm someone's mom, hardly a girl. Don't worry. Vance ruffled my hair gently. You'll always be that little kid who cried at the drop of a hat to me. For some reason my mind flashed back to the day Chase called me old. A sudden wave of grievance mixed with the sting of farewell and my eyes burned. The loudspeaker called my flight. I spun away quickly so they wouldn't see the redness. Just past security my phone buzzed with a message. 6 short words blurred my vision for a second. Stella's been in a car crash. After dozens of unanswered calls and texts to Chase, I still went back. I could talk ruthless all I wanted, but she had grown inside me for 9 months. I could live with her hating me, live without her, but I could not pretend her life meant nothing. During the month since the divorce, the Vance family had written me off. Chase's parents were convinced I'd torn the house down out of spite and refused a single word to me. No matter how I begged, they wouldn't tell me which hospital my daughter was in. Ivy and Jonah split up with me, hospital by hospital, asking. Soon Jonah rang. She's at Eastbrook, nothing critical. You. Vance hesitated. You don't really have to come. I'll take a look, just to be sure. Outside the ward I finally understood his pause. Chase wasn't there. Sophie lay in the bed, pale, and my daughter curled against her shoulder with absolute trust. Sophie, thank goodness you were here, otherwise I'd be in real trouble. Sophie stroked her hair. I'd never let Stella get hurt. By the way, you turned your dad's phone off, aren't you scared your mom will be mad? My daughter pouted. I don't want to see that witch. She'd use this as an excuse to sneak back, I won't let her win. I stood silent outside the door, convinced I had no feelings left. But the instant Jonah folded me into his arms, I realized my face was soaked. What do you two think you're doing? A cold voice cracked behind us. A rough yank pulled me away from Jonah. I turned straight into Chase's furious eyes. Hazel, we signed the papers yesterday, do you have to flaunt it this fast? Vance sneered, jabbing a finger at Jonah. And with him? You've been sneaking around behind my back the whole time, haven't you? My daughter cannonballed out, arms spread to block the door. Don't you dare go in and bully Sophie. At that moment it all felt pointless. Exhaustion swallowed me. I couldn't muster another sentence. I slipped my hand into Jonah's and looked at Chase indifferently. Exactly. Pity it took you this long to notice. Chase and I ended in the ugliest way possible. We blacklisted each other and stayed radio silent for 5 years. I was relieved, to be honest. Those 5 years I stayed in Seabright, opened Saltlight, adopted a cat and a dog, spent free hours breathing salt air, sketching, walking the animals. Life was gentle. Next door lived a grandmother and her little granddaughter. The old woman was past 80, the girl, 6. The girl's grandma died 2 years ago, and no one was left to look after her. After I caught her digging through a trash can, sallow-cheeked with hunger, I adopted her. Unlike Stella's bossy temper, Josie is heartbreakingly considerate. She volunteers to handle every chore. The moment my mood dips, she blames herself and scrambles to please me. She walks on eggshells, never allowing herself the smallest whim, terrified she'll be thrown away again. It took 3 whole years for me to coax a scrap of ordinary, childish brightness back into her. So when I heard that this obedient kid had been in a fight, I was stunned. On the other end of the line, Jonah hesitated. Josie's fine, just a scratch. I took her to the clinic, don't worry. I exhaled. Why would she fight? Are the town kids still picking on her? I need to speak to their parents. No, it's a come over, will you? I'm not sure how to explain on the phone. The clinic was still chaotic when I arrived. Josie sat on a bench, wiping tears. A girl stood with her back to Josie, hands on hips, shouting. Was that your mom screaming? One more squeak and I'll rip your mouth open. Years gone, and her personality hadn't mellowed one bit. I sighed. Stella, what tantrum are you throwing now? Hearing my voice, Stella spun around, eyes lighting up. She shuffled toward me and lifted her left arm. Mom, I'm hurt, it hurts. I glanced at the faint scratches on her forearm, looked away calmly, stepped past her, and knelt in front of Josie, whose injuries were clearly worse. Josie's eyes were swollen, tears still falling. She wanted to cry but didn't dare, and the sight ached in my chest. I stroked her hair. Mom's here, don't be scared. Behind me, Stella clenched her fists. I'm your real daughter. Why don't you care about me? You never once came back to see me. She jabbed a finger at Jonah. You know how long I begged him to bring me? And you still treat me like this. You don't deserve to be my mom. Jonah looked embarrassed. Sorry, Hazel. Stella said she missed you and wanted to apologize. I shouldn't have agreed. It's okay. After comforting Josie, I turned back to Stella. You told me you wanted Sophie to be your mom and asked me to leave. I gave you exactly that. What are you playing at now? Her bravado collapsed. She hung her head. Sorry, Mom. I know I messed up. Can you stop being angry and come home with me? I didn't answer that. Head back early. If your dad finds out you're here, Vance won't be happy. Stella shook her head hard. No, Vance won't. Dad. Vance misses you too. Seeing my disbelief, she rushed on. It's true. After you left, Vance'd stare at your photos, and when Vance is drunk, Vance calls your name. Vance even kicked that woman out. Come home, Mom, we really need you. Her eyes were glassy with imminent tears. In the end, I couldn't bring myself to say anything harsher. I'll tell your dad to come pick you up. I dialed a number I hadn't touched in 5 years. Heavy breathing answered, the voice hoarse. Hazel. I had zero interest in decoding what that single word carried. Your daughter's been gone this long and you only just notice. I knew she went to find you. Vance paused. Can I come tomorrow morning? Fine. That night, Stella erupted again. It started when Josie, learning Stella was my biological daughter, tried to win her over. She fetched her most treasured Anya figurine to give to her big sister. Stella hurled it out the window. Get out. This is my mom's house. What's a stray like you doing here? Have you no shame? It was vicious, and Josie sobbed so hard she could barely breathe. I lost control and slapped Stella. Bedlam followed. Stella wailed. Why? I'm your daughter, how can you favor her? My head throbbed. I bent to Stella's eye level. You're 12, old enough to understand. You're my daughter. That fact never changes and I won't deny it. But Josie is my child too. If you keep bullying her, you're not welcome here. My words were brutal. She stared, eyes shimmering, devastated. Mom, next morning, when Chase arrived, Stella's eyes were still red. Vance didn't ask a single question. Vance simply produced a gift for Josie. First meeting, from Uncle Chase, do you like it? It was an Anya set. Josie's longing flickered, but she shrank behind me and shook her head. No thank you. Jonah said you hurt Mom before. I won't take anything from someone who hurt her. Chase froze. Vance rose and looked at me, lips pressed thin, rare helplessness on his face. I sighed. Let's talk outside. Stella told me you and Jonah were never together. Why did you lie to me? The moment we stepped out, the words burst from him. Does it matter? Of course it matters. You have no idea how miserable I was. I've missed you all these years, but every time I thought of that, it twisted me up. I didn't know how to face you. A soft laugh escaped me. And how do you think I felt when you and Sophie acted like a couple? When you brought her honey ginger tea, caught midnight movies and stayed out till dawn, took our daughter to Disneyland like a happy family, discussed my flaws as if I were the outsider. If that's not love, then enlighten me, what is it? I'm sorry, Hazel. I own every bit of that. But it's all in the past. You've never accepted Jonah's pursuit, were you waiting for me to? No. I cut him off. The reason I haven't accepted him is that the wounds you and our daughter dealt me are too heavy. I'm terrified of repeating the same mistakes, terrified that if I marry again I'll drown in suspicion and endless self-torment. Saying yes before I'm fully healed would be irresponsible to myself and even more unfair to him. But do you feel anything for him? Chase's voice scraped like gravel. Truthfully, I didn't even know myself. All these years, whenever Jonah had a free weekend, Vance'd hop a flight and land on my doorstep. Of course I understood what that meant, but since Vance never spelled it out, I played dumb. One broken marriage had left devastation too brutal for me to risk a second round. Whenever I tried to fix him up with some woman, Vance refused, quietly, firmly. Hazel, if you don't want me, At least don't push me toward someone else. I've waited years, what's a few more? Don't feel you're wasting my life. Loving you is my choice, you're free to accept or reject it, and you owe me nothing. Honestly, with that steady, tender gaze fixed on me, my heart had sprinted more than once. Yet each time the rush subsided and reason returned, I shrank back into my shell. My silence looked like denial to Chase. Vance hugged me so tightly I could barely breathe. Hazel, I know you still care about me and Stella. Let me prove I can change and never hurt you again. From that day forward, Chase and Stella acted like different people. Though I'd clearly refused his plea to reconcile, Vance rented the cottage next door and showed up at dawn to fix things Vance insisted were broken. Stella curbed her bratty streak. She still disliked Josie but stopped freezing her out, even sharing cookies. The situation suffocated me, yet no amount of plain speaking dislodged them, so I quit trying. Jonah kept flying in once a week. Chase's renewed courtship frustrated him, yet his first concern was comforting me. If you believe Vance's changed and want to try again, don't worry about me, your happiness comes first. I shook my head. I won't. I know him too well. Right now Vance is chasing what Vance can't have. The moment I say yes and routine sets in, I'll bore him again. Another month crawled by, my refusal gnawed at Chase. On my 35th birthday, Vance buried the yard in roses and hunted through 3 auctions to win a $5 million De Beers necklace. I never set foot inside the house, Jonah, Josie, and I spent the day at Disneyland. When we finally got home near midnight, Chase sat slumped on the steps, hollow-eyed. Hazel, is the sin I committed truly unforgivable? You won't even offer me one chance. There's nothing to forgive, Chase. I'm telling you plainly, we are impossible. Stop wasting your time. Stella clutched the doorframe, tears streaming. Mommy, don't you want me either? My feelings for her were a tangled knot. I couldn't forget the cruelty, yet I kept seeing the toddler who'd once tottered after me, who'd patted my tears away with dimpled hands. Stella, Mommy has a new life now, and you'll build your own. She understood and broke into ragged sobs. That night my sleep was patchwork. First the memory of Chase kissing my forehead on our wedding day, marrying you is the luckiest thing I've ever done, then the sneer Vance wore the night we signed divorce papers, Stella's disdainful face superimposed over both. Faces twisted and fused until a shrilling phone jolted me awake. Alex, your boyfriend and your daughter fell into the sea, get to West Beach, fast. I sprinted out barefoot. When I reached the shore, a crowd had formed, Josie's heart-wrenching wails knifed straight through me. I shoved through and saw Jonah sprawled on the sand, people pounding his chest. Chase and Stella stood nearby, their blankness chilling. Jonah lay motionless, seawater pale against his colorless skin. I knelt, trembling, and felt for breath, nothing. A tidal wave of grief slammed me. I gasped like a stranded fish. Chase reached down. Hazel, don't despair. Stella and I will stay with you. Get away. I flung his arm off, bile in my throat. Vance went to meet you. Why is Vance in the ocean while you're still breathing? Before the call, I'd received Jonah's text. Let me talk to Chase, man to man. Seeing him lifeless fed my suspicion. Josie tugged my sleeve, hiccuping. She pushed me in. Uncle Jonah dived to save me. Stella shrieked. Liar. You slipped, but guilt flickered too clearly. I hauled myself up, swung with every ounce of rage, and sent her sprawling. I have no daughter anymore, stay out of my sight. Chase's complexion mottled. It was an accident. Stella didn't mean. I turned on him. Neither of you exist for me ever again. Vance coughed it up, Vance's breathing, a stranger shouted. I dropped beside Jonah, clutching his icy, gritty hand. When his lashes lifted, words failed, I covered his fingers with kiss after desperate kiss. Vance gave a faint smile and slipped back into unconsciousness. On my wedding day, I glimpsed Chase in the back pew, Stella writhing in his arms as security escorted them out. Give me my mommy back, she screamed. The doors shut, I met Jonah's gaze. Vance lifted my veil and pressed a reverent kiss to my gloved hand. Josie beamed while passing us the rings. The quagmire was finally behind me. Ahead lay nothing but sunlit, boundless days. Thank you for listening. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate this story? If you enjoyed it, Give us a thumbs up and share with friends. We'd love to read your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more tales. See you next time.